Thank you very much. Thank you very much, DJ. And welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 25th day of August 2023. And of course, this is the final Friday in August. As I said last week, and I keep saying that time is moving quickly. And of course, this is the 8th day of the month, or the year, sorry, 8th month of the year. So it therefore means that we have another 4 months to get our act together, or to get things done, or continue doing what we have been doing over the last 8 months for sure. Today, of course, is a lovely day, and I want to say good afternoon to one and all. I want to say good afternoon to the people here in Nevis who are listening to Von Radio at this time. Of course, the people in St. Kitts who would normally follow Von Radio as well, I say welcome to you. The entire Federation or neighboring islands, all the way up to the United States, the Eastern and Western Seaboard, all who are listening throughout the United States, and of course Canada and Europe. Indeed, we do have followers in Asia as well. So we have a wide cross-section of persons who would listen, nationals, non-nationals, curious persons would listen just to hear what we have to impart. Indeed, today is a lovely day here on the island of Nevis. It is somewhat hot outside. I say somewhat hot. Some will say it's very hot and humid, but of course we are in the summer, and indeed this weekend for sure is a contrast to what we would have had last weekend. We had some showers last weekend, and of course the whole island of Nevis is flourishing, so to speak. It looks beautiful outside. I mean, the lawns are looking good, the trees are looking good, and indeed those showers of blessings would have really made a difference, brought some vibrancy back to the landscape, of course. I want to say to all of us that we are still in the hurricane season, and indeed we have seen the passage of some tropical waves, other parts of the Caribbean and throughout North America dealing with other weather patterns as well. But here in the Caribbean, or here in Nevis to be specific, we're dealing with some hot weather. But there are other things on the horizon, and I want us to continue to be vigilant, because of course anything can happen any day or any week or any month moving forward down to the end of November. So we want to say thus far things have been rather quiet, and we continue to give God thanks and praises for his tender mercies towards us. And indeed we want to continue to seek his intervention to ensure that we do get some rain, yes, but nothing more than that, and indeed certainly not any hurricane at this point in time. I want to start this afternoon with a bit of sadness, really. Of course, we have had some passings here on the island of Nevis, persons who would have departed this life, but all of us here on the island would have gotten up this morning to some rather sad news on the passing of our friend and colleague and family member, Buju Barrett. I say Buju because I can't say I recall Buju's first name, but I know he had another name that many people may have forgotten, which is Plum. He was once someone who played in the Magnet, not played, but he was the vocalist, one of the vocalists there in the Magnets band. Him and also Chesley Pharaoh Davis. He has since departed as well. And indeed that band had in persons like Macefield Nisbet, he was the keyboard player. Kevin Barrett, Scooby as we know him, he was the drummer, and he's the brother of Buju. Who else was in that band? I almost believe that Atnell Swanston was in that band. He was the bass guitar player or something of that sort. But and there was another chap who used to be around Caribbean Roots, I believe, was in that band. But Magnets band, those of us who are old enough for following music in the 90s would have recalled that particular band. You know, they used to be all over Charlestown. And they had a song that they had this, what was it again, about Magnet Passy or something like that. But anyway, Buju was a vocalist in that band, and indeed we know him in that particular light then, but of course he would have gone on to become one of the better culinary specialists there on the island of Nevis. He had his own business place down there in Charlestown, And I'm sure many of you who patronize his business would have seen him over the last couple of days, and then we got up this morning to this disappointing news, sad news that is. So we have certainly lost someone who would have had a role to play in feeding people of Nevis to a large extent, especially those who would walk around Charlestown and would have their lunch at his place, Buju's place, on a given day. And indeed, he would have participated in other culinary experiences here on the island of Nevis, like the Mango Festival and other things that have been held by the different arms of government and other social groups. So he was always there to display his culinary skills, and indeed, once he would have grown to love his food, then, you know, they say the way to a man's heart is through his belly. So many of us would have enjoyed his food, and we fell in love with his cooking. And indeed, many of us and the whole of Nevis, the whole of his customer base and his fan base, that is, would certainly miss him. It is certainly a shock, and it just demonstrates how fleeting life is, meaning the fragility of life. You're here today, gone today. Sometimes persons say you're here this minute and you're gone this minute, and that is the way life is these days. Sadly, we are reporting this at this time, but you know, as I always say, there are three phases to life: you're born, you live, and you die. And it is the final phase which is the most difficult one to understand and comprehend. But as we say, God knows best, and I want to pray for God's intervention and protection, guidance, and uplifting of the entire family, Didi, and all of his family members, children, and the likes, everyone who would be seriously affected by the loss of Buju. I know it cannot be a good, well, losing a loved one is not a good thing. Sometimes you prepare and you're able to handle it differently. But this one is certainly one that I'm absolutely certain that the family was not ready for, was not prepared for. But be that as it may, things happen in the split of a moment. And indeed, we just have to find a way to galvanize our effort and lift up everyone so that we can make the journey a little bit easier, if we certainly can. But it is certainly a difficult one for the entire island of Nevis, and of course the Federation and beyond, because persons would have come from various parts of St. Kitts and neighboring islands and would have stopped right there on Main Street and savored some of the food, some of the dishes that Buju and his staff there would have prepared and sold to the general public. So many persons would be affected by this, I'm sure. And of course, we just ask for God's continued guidance, and He knows best, and of course, He would provide the necessary guidance into the future, I'm sure. Let's move away from that and just say, well, of course, anyone who is celebrating at this time, we want to express our best wishes on this your special day. I would want everyone who is celebrating to have a fabulous time indeed, because of course these are uncertain times, and every chance you get to enjoy life, enjoy it, and do not let anyone steal your joy or rob you of your joy. Yeah, it is what you have going for you, your joy, your peace of mind, and your comfort. Go ahead and enjoy it, especially when these special days come around, when you're turning over another leaf for another year. I want you to go ahead and enjoy your day today. But before I go any further, let me backtrack and express condolences to the entire family up there at Hamilton of Bochum Roach. He passed away, I believe, 2 days ago. He was one of our most recent centenarians, and he would have lived to 100, and 100 years is a long time to live. Some of us who are much younger are wondering how much further we'll get, but of course Bochum would have lived to see 100 years. And indeed, I have tremendous respect and regards for persons who would have lived for such a long time. And it therefore means, in my opinion, that they would have seen things, they would have experienced things, and they would have dealt with certain things that we as younger persons will never ever have a chance to deal with. In that, being 100 years old, it therefore means he was born somewhere in the 1920s or 1930s, thereabout. Well, 30, this is what, 2023. So it therefore means that those years were some of the most difficult years, and those years are not necessarily years that we will see at this point in time. He would have lived through World War II, of course, and we understand the difficulties that were encountered during the Second World War. Goods were not coming, difficulties of receiving food items, and indeed those were the days when we didn't have things like internet and social media, where we now can go out there and say the worst things about people. Those days were more tranquil times, and I say tranquil times where you live together as a family and as a community, where you uplifted one another, shared what you had with one another, and then things went haywire sometime after that. So those are the good old days that we certainly will not speak about as someone like Bochum can speak about or could have spoken about, but it therefore means that these are persons we must respect, and these are persons that we must honor accordingly, because they have seen things and they know things and experience things that we certainly will never get to do in our lifetime. So we listen up for the funeral service of Bochum Roach, and indeed the entire Division public, I believe, should go and pay their last respects, because indeed that was a man who would have lived a full life and contributed to the overall development of the island of Nevis, and by extension the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And he didn't spend his entire 100 years here on the island of Nevis, so he would have contributed to the development of other countries that he would have worked and spent time in. So indeed many persons would have been impacted by him and also his passing. So I just wanted to touch that as well before I move on. Indeed, last week I did touch on Culturama. I'm not intending to touch on it so much this time around, but just to say that persons are already making their plans to come down to Nevis for Culturama 50. And while I'm saying that, I just want to say to the Division public that those of you who have houses, guest houses, your private homes, or any house that you can make available for persons who want to come down, I believe this is the time you want to start to make some plans. If you have the finances, you can do some renovation. At this point, I also want to say to you that even if you don't have all of the finances available, there's always a plan available for you somewhere, somehow, to get the job done. I want to, at this point, tell you about what the government or the NIA is doing in terms of offering duty-free concession to persons who want to do any renovation of $30,000 or more. I think that is still ongoing. I recall we had that over the course of last year, and I believe it is still ongoing. If it is, then I would admonish persons to make some inquiries down there at the Ministry of Finance. That's right there in the area where that old administration building, so to speak, is. That building on the left-hand side as you go into the yard. I want you to go there and inquire, because if that is the case, you'll want to start to make some preparation so as to enhance your building, yes, but also to put you in the market to make some money next year, because with the amount of persons I understand will be coming down from England, from the United States, from other countries, sorry, to be here for Culturama 50, they will need somewhere to stay. And if they need somewhere to stay, I'm certainly the hotels will fill up quickly. But if you have an alternative for them, which is your home, a house that you normally rent, I am certain that for a 2 weeks period, whatever the case might be, some may come and spend a month. And there are quite a number of family reunions, I understand, will take place next year. So there'll be quite a number of persons on the island of Nevis. And we want to start the preparation to take advantage of the business opportunities that will present themselves next year. You hear it's a home coming scenario or situation. It is one that is going to be similar, but it will surpass, I believe, what was done for the 40th anniversary, which was back in 2014. So that is some advice that I'm given. I am giving that because I do believe that we don't want to fall short in any regard or any respect. Other areas will capitalize, I'm sure, where the car rentals and the eateries that we have here on the island of Nevis, those entities that offer excursions and entertainment and the like. Everyone will be trying their best to capitalize on what is to come next year. I do believe that it's going to be a grand occasion, all being well. That being said, as we go along over the next couple of months, of course, we'll have more time to speak about that as well. Yeah? Okay. Throat is messing up a little bit. But anyway, last week I did say that I had the numbers for the arrival and departures over there at the Wally Water Taxi facility. I was unable to give a comprehensive or complete account of the data that is before me. So I now have it. So I want to say that for the records, and I'm keeping the records going because I'm seeking to get to at least perhaps close to 500,000 movements, meaning departures and arrivals between now, or let me back up and say from January to December. But we know where we are at this point in time at the end of July. So I believe over the next, well, this month along with the next 4 months to come, we probably might very well, I know we can surpass 250,000 persons moving back and forth. How close can we get to 500,000? I don't know. It is a huge task, but the first 250,000 will be a significant point as well to accomplish. But we are almost there from what the numbers show. From what it shows, that I did say up until the end of June 30th, we had just about 122,704 persons moving back and forth over there at the Wally Water Taxi facility. And what I mean by that, you have arrival and departures, and indeed we got the numbers for, or the data for July, which was 22,945 persons. I'm not stripping it out to say how many came and how many went, but I'm just giving you the raw numbers in terms of the global figure. So we add that to the end of June, you're looking at 145,649 persons would have utilized that facility, moving back and forth to St. Kitts. Yeah, so that is an impressive amount of persons, and this is for the end of July. So therefore, based on what we are looking at, we will surpass, all being well and God's will, it will surpass the 250,000 mark. How much further than that we'll get to will all determine what happens on the latter part, the last quarter of this year, when we know the tourist season will start somewhere around October. Then you have November, and then December normally is a busy month. So at least we'll see how far we can get to by that time. And when you look at these numbers, they're not just numbers to consume. You hear them and rest them aside. The numbers themselves speaks to a larger picture that we sought to create over there, in that we saw that this facility as one to create employment and also business opportunities for both owners and both operators. We also saw it as an opportunity for NASPA, customs, taxi operators, restaurateurs here in Nevis, guest houses, and various small businesses to capitalize on the movement of persons between St. Kitts and Nevis. There's always been the talk about this bridge, physical bridge. Well, this is the water taxi bridge. that has provided that connection for our citizens from both St. Kitts and here on Nevis, moving back and forth. Right now we have the CPL, the Caribbean Premier League, that is going on, and of course our people are going over. Last night was a game between the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots and the Guyana Amazon Warriors. Well, of course the Guyana Amazon Warriors would have won, but the point I'm trying to make, I drove through there and there was a large number of cars there, which means people would have parked, catch a boat, went across to St. Kitts to watch cricket, and of course they were back home by a certain period of time and into their beds and get up this morning to do their normal chores. So it therefore means that easy access has been provided by this particular facility, and for that we have to always give a commendation to the Nevis Island administration for seeing the wisdom and having the vision to purchase that property and ensure that it is there for the use of not only citizens and residents but also visitors. Yesterday I was over there. Yesterday, no, I think it was Wednesday, and I saw what's his name there, this West Indian cricketer Alzari Joseph, and former cricketer Darren Sammy, along with former, I believe he's the former West Indies cricket board president, what's his name, Ricky Scarrett. But they were coming off of the boat and went and had a chat with them and tell them, welcome to Nevis, welcome to paradise. And that is what we want to create, where people can get here easily and return just as easy as well too. And it gives me joy every time I see many persons utilizing that facility, a facility that has come under much criticisms and comments and concerns, of course, yes. But the bottom line is, we did say as a government that the first phase was to get that pier up and running, ensure that persons can move back and forth and boats can berth at the pier and safely move back and forth as well, and that is what they're doing. The other phases are coming along nicely. The building is being painted as we speak, and of course in short order that should be completed for the usage of the general public in terms of a waiting area. Even though I will suggest to the general public that that facility has shown that people are not necessarily going there to sit down to wait. They have an 8 o'clock ferry and they're there for 5 minutes to wait, and they're ready to board the boat and go. So you go and you come. When you arrive, you're headed straight to your vehicle, headed straight to a taxi, and be on your way to enjoy Nevis or to go home and get what you have to do done at home. So that facility continues to play its part. It's one of those revenue generating projects that the concerned citizens movement would have constructed and continue to make money for one and all. And indeed, I've said in the past, there are opportunities that one can look at so as to capitalize on these 145,649 persons who have moved or continue to move and will move in the future through that particular facility. There is money to be made. There are opportunities to be exploited over there, and I want people just to wrap their head around all that and figure out what can be done. If more taxi operators are needed, well, come on board. If more persons are needed to sell items, it doesn't have to be things that you eat. It can be some souvenirs. For example, I see persons along the beach sometimes with souvenirs all over their shoulders and all over on their head and all kind of things. There are visitors who come here, and that last minute shopping could be a major sale for you in terms of somebody buying $100 worth of stuff from you when you probably wouldn't have gotten them sold sitting down somewhere in on some shelf somewhere. So I'm just saying these things. I don't know what is possible. People can use their own initiative and their own intelligence and intellect to come up with something that they can capitalize on that particular facility, because the opportunities are there. Once people are moving, once people are there, you're selling to people, you're providing a service to people. That's your operating word. So if you are there doing something, people will patronize, I'm sure. So think about that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 1:30, and like I said last week, sometimes we come here to spend an hour and then the hour is done in no time. But it is what it is. But I want to go further into some of the things that I want to say this afternoon. But before I do so, I heard the thought for today. here on this radio station by the announcer this morning, Mr. Herbert, who said it is better to be right than to be popular. It's better to be right than to be popular, and I believe that is some sound words that persons should, just embrace, in the sense that many times we say things and we say it just to get some likes. Perhaps we write something on Facebook just to get likes and that kind of thing, and most times it is not the truth. A lot of times it is not the truth, but it sounds good and people say they like it, they comment accordingly. And so I have seen something creeping into our society here on the island of Nevis, into our communities, whereby a lot of news are put out, a lot of things are put out that are not true, and people gravitate to it because it sounds embellishing, it sounds true, it sounds like something that makes sense. And ultimately, when you peel back the onion layers, or the layers of an onion, sometimes your eyes start to burn you because of that thing that is given off sometimes. And so it is with some of the things that persons put out there. A lot of lies sometimes surface on Facebook and other social media platforms. I am not here to defend anything today. I will not. Because if I have anything that I need to defend and to get the truth, there's a building downtown where there is this name emblazoned on it, Theodore Hobson building, Theodore Hobson QC building, something of that sort. Well, let me say it is the courthouse down there in Charlestown. I have never taken anybody to court, but I've been taken to court many a times when I was the Minister of Agriculture and Lands, and gone to court and have prevailed in quite a number, have lost some and then came back on appeal and won. So since 2013 I've been taken to court many a times. I've never taken a soul to court because I do believe that I will only go to court if I have to and when I have to. And at this point in time, I was called by many a persons and said there are things being said out there about you, about something to do with some lands, It doesn't surprise me, It doesn't surprise me because I think some persons are heading to a mental institution, I'm sure. But that's okay. That is their problem. But you see, I come here on a Friday, and I've said to the people of Nevis, I come here to tell the truth. And I don't think Von Radio can survive 30 plus years with persons coming here and speaking untruth, telling lies, and then being dragged into court and having to face legal challenges and legal bills. So one of the admonition that I got from day one when I started on Von Radio way back in, I believe it was 2006 thereabout, on the mark, was to speak the truth. And I've been speaking on the radio from since then until now, and not one soul has ever taken me to court to say I tell a lie on them. Someone attempted to, but I don't even know what become of that. But I'll leave that for now. But I'll say this to the public, that many of the things that you see on Facebook, take it with a grain of salt, as the old people will say. Take it at face value until you know what the truth is. And some people would say, well, you come and tell the truth. No, the truth can be told right down there in the Theodore Hobson building, where the truth must be told and always will be told. But the bottom line is, once you come here to Von Radio and you say something and it resonates to the point where it makes some people feel uncomfortable or make persons start to think a second time because they know what they would have done when they were in and around government, then of course they would come with what you call the distraction, or they'll come with what they would create a narrative, let's put it that way, so as to distract the people of Nevis. I came here last week, and of course the topic then was about lands. And I've said before that anything to do with lands on Nevis, I can speak all day, I can speak all night. I don't have to make up one thing on a soul. I don't want to come here and say things that are not true. I don't have to do that, because the truth is always there. It's in the record. It's in the records. So in truth and in fact, now there's some distraction out there, and I'll say, well, let it run. Let it run. But it wouldn't stop me from coming to Von Radio and speaking in these microphones. Why? Why would I stop? When the people of Nevis want to hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, I won't stop. So when I came and I talk about the lands that were being acquired, or that were sorry, let's get it right, that were acquired by the NRP were poor people here in Nevis. And I don't know if the people of Nevis understand that what we're up against with this NRP, you know. I don't think the people of Nevis understand up until today. But I'll continue to speak about it. Why? There was a precedent being set here on the island of Nevis by the NRP that if you had lands, you're a poor person owning land here on the island of Nevis, they didn't come to negotiate. They didn't come to speak to you and level with you and offer you anything for your lands. They had the powers. The NIA have those powers. The ordinance that was set up for land acquisition is there, and the NIA has that power to come and acquire your land, perhaps without even asking you. This is a small community, so I don't see no reason why any government will take that route. Because all of us meet one another down in Charlestown every day, rub shoulders. We meet persons in church, we meet persons at different events and different functions. But the NRP was saying to the people of Nevis that those of you who have land, and we have a problem with you having those lands. We don't care whether you had them for your mother, your father, your daughter, your sister, your brother, your auntie, whoever it was to be left for. They didn't care. And it still bothers the NRP today that we are speaking about this. There's a reason why we continue to speak about it. Because it was wrong. It was immoral. And it was the wrong thing for any government to do at that point in time, or any government in the future, to take away poor people's land. Where do you think we'll be, in South Africa? In South Africa, the white man went and take away the black man's land and did whatever they want with it, and apartheid existed down there where black people were in shackles and couldn't sit in certain buildings and drive in certain buses and, you know, be in the same space. So that is the type of action that the NRP was bringing to bear here on the people of Nevis. You have your land. This ain't South Africa. This is Nevis, where persons went out and bought their lands. Some went out and they inherited lands from their father or grandfather, whatever the case might be. Valuable property. Valuable piece of land. I don't care whether it was a quarter acre. If you have 10,000 square feet of land, or even 5,000 square feet of land, it is valuable land. There is a value that you put on it. And I don't care if they say it costs $5 a square foot. Everybody in Nevis have land. And if a valuator come and tell you it's $5 a square foot, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the value that you personally put on it, you who own it. If I say that your land have sentimental value to you, well, what is the value? Nobody can ascertain what that is. So when you go up to Government Road and you go all over Nevis and you take away poor people's land and don't compensate them, what are you telling me? You had that right to do because you have that privilege and that right under the ordinance, the Land Acquisition Act? And that is the thing that bothers the NRP up until today. And NRP, you're going to have to live with that until God knows when, and until you apologize to all those people, until you apologize to people you have done wrong to. People won't forget you. People will never forget you. And I don't want the people of Nevis to ever forget the NRP. So all of the isms and schisms you're hearing out there, they talk about Mark Brantley every week, every day, every month. Mark Brantley posts something, they have a lot to say. I post something, they have a lot to say. I say something, they have a lot to say. But be my guest. This is a free country. This island, you can say what you want, but all I am saying to you, when you speak, speak the truth. And speak what is necessary, palatable to the ears of the people of Nevis. Some people might like you with what you're saying, but it's not true. But on this matter of land acquisition, where people have or were not compensated by the NRP, it cannot be one that is forgotten tomorrow. And listen, people of Nevis must remember when NRP went down there with the, they're flexing their muscles, went down to the cable TV building, chase out all of the workers, get out of here, slam and lock and chain on the door and say we take over this company. That's a regional international company. NRP went down there over some, the riff was about some rates. I don't know about that. Some people were willing to pay the rates, some were agonizing over it, but the NRP went down and said, what? Listen, we're taking over this company. just using the powers that are available to them in that ordinance. That's how you run government. And you know they went further than that, you know, because those 200 plus people whose name were taken off of the list, you think that was just a matter of taking name off the list? That was showing that a dictatorship was creeping into this island here on the island of Nevis. Main power. We are in power. And we can do as we like, when we want, or when we like, how we like, if we like. I thought they went mad when they were doing it. I've heard a promo here on the Von Radio. Some guy said, you think you can do what you want, when you want, how you want, if you want. You gone mad? The NRP went mad here during those years of 2006 to 2013. Mad. And you hear them out there sound evil. I wonder if there's such a word as matter. I don't know. Maybe I could make it up. I have a license to make up words. But they have gone mad in this place because you listen to them on the radio. And I know why they're mad. One, I believe they hate the people of Nevis. But not only that, I can go further and say, I believe they are bullies in the island of Nevis. So they would want to bully the people of Nevis, whether it's through social media. You have some of them out there saying the worst things about people. I don't even know if they're working where they are. Some of them in the United States, some of them in St. Thomas, some of them all over the Caribbean. And all up and down the place. I don't know where they find the time. I don't know if they're working. I don't know if they can come back to Nevis. But they have the authority on what's going on in Nevis, and they have the worst thing to say about people. People who are contributing to the development of Nevis. People would have met Nevis a certain way in 2006 and turn it into what I would call the worst institutions we would have inherited back in 2013 after that episode of 2006 to 2013. The CCM came in and would have tried their very best to undo some of the wrongdoings that would have gone on then. But we have a lot of years to talk because, elections might be somewhere around 2027, God spare life. So when the time comes, we're going to lay it out and remind the people, and nobody going to stop us from reminding the people of Nevis what has gone on this island. Because you see, they don't want to be reminded about their history, but they would want to bring the CCM history and put it out there for the people to hear, right? That's okay. We don't have a problem with it. But I would tell you that, listen, when they went down there and put on lock and chain on the cable TV building, Nevis got a black eye then. A black eye. And take people's name off the voters list. Like you never existed. Simply because they were going to lose an election. Hands down, they were going to lose an election. So instead of preaching to the people, getting the support of the people, they went and take their names off of the list. Simply because the people would have said, and the tides were turning then. Well, I don't know if the tides were turning. The tides already turned at that point in time. And they realized that they were going to lose an election and take people's name off of the list. And that is what NRP would have to live with for the rest of their time as a party. And those who have come on board now, they went and changed up their slate in terms of from all men to all, no, it wasn't all women, and I almost got carried away. No, he had 4 women and one guy. But they went and changed up the looks of the party so as to fool the people of Nevis. Nevis people almost got fooled into it. Because all of those ladies you see there who are on the ticket, all of them know what went on the NRP of 2006 and 2013. All of them were here. Maybe one of them was fast asleep. Maybe a couple of them were not paying attention. But eventually, all of them were appraised of what was happening under the NRP. Because we were saying it all the time. We were saying it and we were never telling a lie. As a matter of fact, even this deal with BEAD that they keep talking about, we have spoken about that for years and years upon years. And I hear them talking about water and BEAD again, right? I will say to the NRP, Lord, leave BEAD out of the conversation. You know why? You were the ones, NRP, who said that BEAD brought a proposal to you for $6.4 million, easy, to develop 2 single wells to produce 1 million gallons of water per day. You were the ones who said it. You were the ones who said that when you look at all of the other proposals that came, you throw them aside and take up the BEAD deal because BEAD was less than all of the others. So if BEAD was to collect $6.4 million to develop 2 wells, but yet still, in 2008, instead of paying it $6.4 million, you went and gave them a contract which yielded almost $30 million over 10 years. Not only that, They started charging $2.50 per 1,000 gallons. Somewhere around 2008, 2009, you change the deal. The NIA under, all of those who were there. Joseph Parry was the premier then, and whoever else was there. You changed the deal and said that the people of Nevis would now start paying the electricity for those two pumps that Bede had up there in Maddens and over at Fothergills. When I became the minister in 2013 thereabout, Bede had already racked up, those two pumps had already racked up well over $7 million worth of electricity that was unpaid. So Nevlec up there sitting and waiting for the money, couldn't get it because you went and told Bede the people of Nevis will pay for the electricity. When that contract ended in 2018, I believe those pumps had racked up an amount of almost $12 million in electricity bills. And here's the problem. Nevlec wasn't getting their money. Up until 2006, all of the government institutions here on the island of Nevis were fully paid up to Nevlec. I'm talking about NASPA. I'm talking about the hospital down there by the waterfront over at the airport. All of the offices around town, all of them were fully paid up to Nevlec. By the time we got back into government, all of them were in arrears for millions of dollars. NRP decided not to pay nothing at all to Nevlec. So when we came into government, Nevlec was up there floundering along. Some old engines. Every day current electricity is out. Every minute you have to buy parts. Every day something has gone wrong at Nevlec. You know why? Nevlec wasn't getting their money from the Bede pumps. Up to now, I don't even know where that is at. But $12 million was accumulated as expenses to be paid for those two pumps up there. One at Maddens and one at Fothergills. Not only that, if you're not paying as government institutions, if you're not paying, how on God earth will Nevlec survive? Van Samry then, a blessed memory, he had a good plan. He said we will pay all our bills to Nevlec. We will ensure that Nevlec remains a financially sound company so that at some point we can put it out there as a publicly traded company to raise monies, sell shares to raise monies to pump back into Nevlec to make it a stronger and a more vibrant company. In that regards, persons from the general public can buy shares, own a part of Nevlec, just like down in Grenada where you have Grenlec, which is a publicly traded company, and consisted with all of the other companies here in the Caribbean that are traded on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. That was the plan for Nevlec, and it was working well up to 2006. You recall 2004, a brand new engine was bought. A Wärtsilä engine was bought with a loan from the Caribbean Development Bank. All that was being done to fortify and to make Nevlec a sound company. Well, those who were managing then, managers between 2006 and ministers, run the thing into the ground. Run them right into the ground. Run it into the ground, and then we inherited that in 2013. When I inherited that company there in 2013, we owed $7.8 million to the supply, the fuel supply company, the company that supplied fuel. All of the government institutions were in arrears. You ask me how Nevlec survive? They're still surviving. But since then we have bought two brand new engines for them. One we procured some monies from the SIDF, and the other was through a loan that was received from a local institution 2 years ago, I believe, 3 years ago. But we have done our best to keep that company afloat. But listen, decisions that were made by a government of the past will always come back to hurt and harm the current government. If you make a decision in your household, for example, you're the head of the household, instead of saving monies for a rainy day, instead of saving monies to send your child or children to school, instead of doing the necessary things in the household to ensure that you have a sound structure and infrastructure in place at your home, it's going to fall apart. But decisions, you have to make decisions consistent with what you want to, or what you want the results to be. You want good results, you make good decisions. Not all decisions are going to work perfectly. But when you look at this NRP in government between 2006, I'm not going back, because anything before 2006, let's say between 1980 or 1980 to 1992, they'll always talk about 4 seasons. Okay, fine. 4 seasons have had its up and down, ins and out. They have closed and reopened. Closed under one government, reopened. About to be sold and not sold. Sold and still here. So a lot of things have happened with 4 seasons. Put that aside, because they too have threatened 4 seasons, They have threatened 4 seasons. If you don't pay your water bill, if you don't pay your light bill, Monday morning, everything gone. Lights gone, everything gone. Threatening publicly, threatening an institution, that has been employing people here on the island of Nevis and providing the revenue stream here on the island of Nevis for many families, many households, and also for the government of Nevis as well. But you hear NRP? Get mad one night. If you don't pay your water bill, light gone, current gone, everything gone, shut them down. That's the NRP for you. If they can't control you, they try to shut you down. If they can't get you to speak their own language, they come to bully you. And that is the NRP for you. And I want people to understand, you hear them talking, I said last week, when a person tell you who they are, take them at their words. But when they show you who they are, you better believe them. You better believe them, and I believe everything about the NRP because their action is speaking much louder than their words. I don't care about their rhetoric, because their rhetoric is sometimes just empty rhetoric. Accusations, lies, and deceit and deception. But when it comes to the action, and look the action here, with BEAD, with the cable TV, with water, with land acquisition, taking away poor people's land. Poor people. Like we in South Africa. Yeah? That's the NRP for you. And back to that same BEAD, people of Nevis, if you think that almost $30 million got us anything, all it got us was pumping water into tanks. Yeah? All those black tanks you see going around Nevis, one up at the top of Spring Hill, one over at Maddens up there going up towards the top of Maddens, one over at Fottergills, one up at Burden Pasture, that's the top of Hermitage area up there, one down there, I forgot the one that just went down there at Zetlands. There's one that was put in up there at, up there at Hamilton. All those tanks, those large storage tanks, and all of the pipes, the 8-inch pipe or 6-inch pipe, whatever was run from one to the next all around the island of Nevis, you are the people of Nevis who had to pay for that. We took a mortgage from the Caribbean Development Bank, $30 million. So they didn't spend no money in Nevis. All they did was drill for some water. Whatever they got paid, almost $30 million, that has nothing to do with all them tanks and all the piping that gone around Nevis. And we put in that and we pay for it. Not the 30 million, almost 30 million that they went with. This is another $30 million that we had to borrow to improve the infrastructure and the delivery of water to the people of Nevis. All up and down Nevis. Listen, there were some white tanks. You all saw them. The last one was removed over there at Zetlands. Some fused. There was some panel fused together. More water were coming out than what was being stored. And that's why this upgrade that was done under the Concerned Citizens movement is one of the best. You can imagine water is tight. You had those old tanks. Wells are pumping, yes, but they're not at the optimum level right now. You could imagine whatever water is being pumped from those wells going into those old tanks, and instead of those old tanks holding that water, storing that water, it's going back out. As fast as it comes in, it goes out. No, we couldn't have that situation. That was an untenable situation. That is why we went and upgraded the water network here in Nevis, one of the best in the Caribbean. And I say it with no water in my mouth, one of the best in the Caribbean. There are many persons out there who may want to compare Nevis to other parts of the Caribbean, But I know up in Antigua, I hear someone say it's 3 weeks now they ain't get water in a place called Golden Grove. I don't even know where Golden Grove is. But that tells you exactly what people are up against in other countries as against the island of Nevis. the water situation is a difficult one, is a challenging one, but it is much better than many other countries around us and many islands. And even if you start compare us to any other, I would tell you, you would fail in that, because Nevis have invested heavily, and with that investment we have gotten good results in that our water network is the best in the Caribbean, our water delivery is the best in the region, and our water, even the taste of the water, is the best around here. So you are going to talk about water morning, noon and night. I am telling you that the Concerned Citizens Movement have done a marvelous job in managing that resource. And as a matter of fact, you have heard the Premier said it, and we have said it before, that it wasn't for the lack of not trying, because we have invested. We signed a contract to develop 3 additional wells with the same bead company. They got a down payment of $2 million. Up to now, we can't see one well. But that is being dealt with from the legal standpoint. That litigation is going to take place. But we have done what we had to do, and we continue to do what we have to do. All we continue to say is to people on the island of Nevis, water is an important resource. Just have to take care of it, manage it. Even in our homes, do whatever is necessary to ensure that we are conserving. But water situation have gotten much better anyway, because I think since Culturama weekend, I don't ever have lost any water. So that tells me that we're on the up and up. And many of the conversation that they would want to continue to manufacture about water, yes, is life, and we have water. And we're going to continue to have water, because we'll continue to ensure that all avenues are explored to ensure that water is being delivered to our people. So you hear them up and down. We had, what you call it, House of Assembly yesterday, and some bills were being discussed. Amendments were being made to some financial services bills or whatever, banking bills. And then you hear the other side there, these people, what they are, the opposition, I don't know what they are, to people on the other side anyway, talking about things that are not even connected to the bills, talking about, the sustainable development goals, and everything is sustainable development for them. But during the time when we had the Millennium Development Goals, that was between 2000 and 2015. And all other people forget about those things. When they were looking at poverty, education, reduction in mortality rate, and also maternal health, making sure that we bring healthy babies and healthy boy and girls into this world. I guess I'm happy to forget that those were the days when they were in power. So they were in power at that point in time, and they were not concerned about those same people who had those lands and bringing their children into the world. They were not concerned about their children inheriting those lands from their parents. So those goals didn't matter then. But I'll say now, with these sustainable development goals, I'll tell you, St. Kitts Nevis, but more so Nevis, have met and surpassed all of these goals. And if we haven't met maybe one or two, we are close to meeting the expectations and requirements. We're poverty there in Nevis. One of the goals speaks of no poverty. Where is poverty in Nevis? Some lady up there in St. John's saying poverty in St. John's. Listen, everybody have challenges in Nevis. Even if you have money in the bank, you have challenges. Because if you have money in the bank, it doesn't necessarily mean you should go and take it up and go and spend off all that money. You want to cut and contrive, as they say. The old people say, cut and contrive. Tighten your belt a little tighter, because circumstances demand that all of us do that. And what I mean poverty? I was called last day, they say, come for some breadfruit. I think I'm going up in the top of Butler's go look some breadfruit when I leave here. Things in Nevis, yeah? Food is being produced. And if you can't produce, listen, go and ask, and I'm certain someone will give you. I told you all last week, someone called me for some bananas, green bananas, and I took up 3 fish out of my fridge and carried them and gave them to them and tell them thank you for the banana, and I went on to cook them. Listen, there's a way we can live and counter whatever hunger, if there is any, on Nevis, because the Millennium Goals speaks to, not the Millennium Goals, the Sustainable Goals speaks to hunger, zero hunger. I think it's 17 or 18 of them. I think it's 17 of them. and Nevis have met them in many regards and surpass. And those that we haven't met, we're almost there. So when it comes to good health and well-being, when it comes to quality education, equality of gender, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, oh my goodness, we have covered all of those. So anybody who come preaching sustainable development goes to you, tell them you don't read the textbook long time. You have read the textbook and you're living way beyond what the textbook says, because we continue to live a good life here on the island of Nevis. And all who want to talk negative, you can continue talking, and I'm going to come with the counter and tell you things are good in Nevis. The challenges are there. Challenges are there throughout the world. And anyone who tell you they're not meeting any challenges in this lifetime, they're not living the life that you and I are living in terms of being alive and breathing a fresh breath of air here on the island of Nevis. So when I say they're not living, I don't think a dead man can talk, so nobody can tell you that they're not meeting any challenges. I don't care how much money they have. Challenges are abound in every possible country and in every possible island. How we negotiate those challenges will make the difference when it comes to our success and our well-being. So life is good here on the island of Nevis. School start in another, not next week, the week after. There are some incentives available out there for parents. I think it's $250 voucher that is going to be provided for you to buy school supplies. Check with the social services department. I believe it's through that particular ministry that these vouchers are administered. But at least social media have a lot of information these days. We just need to stay on top of these things and not take it from those who are destined to create harm and to create diversion and to create that smoke screen for you to take your eyes off of what is important to you and important to the island of Nevis. So I want to say to you that we are on the right path, the path of development and the path of growth. We have seen many good things happen in the island of Nevis and in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis over the past year and even before that. And I know moving forward, we are going down to the last half of the year. And that's when the tourist season kicks in again, when in truth and in fact persons who had a wonderful past season will have an even better one coming up. Let us protect that industry that we call the tourism industry. And let us work towards ensuring that we are offering the best service to our visitors when they come. And they'll come. And they'll come in their numbers. And based on the bookings that persons are already speaking about, it says that we're in for a very good season to come, barring any further challenges or difficulties during the hurricane season. But we continue to pray and hope that we can avoid any setbacks throughout the rest of this year up until November. But then the tourist season, as it comes in and we're able to take advantage of it, let us all go and take advantage and make sure that we can offer the services where persons will repeat and repeat, come again over and over, because those are the best guests to have coming back, because they come without any advertising or money is being spent on them. They come back based on their experience and based on what was experienced by Neil Long. That is going to go a long way to bring some more persons to Nevis as well, and I'm happy vex about that. Why vex about and happy? I hate Nevis so much. Why embrace it? You see all of you never stringberry. Why you all hate this island so much? Embrace this island, man. When you all talk, man is the best thing on the planet. It's the best island on the planet. And it's being managed by a government that is the best at this point in time. I don't know about 5 years from now. I don't know about 10 years from now. But right now you have a leader in the Honorable Mark Bradley is the best man for the job right now. Who the alternative is? I don't even see one. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've outlived my time around here. I've spent more than I should. I believe it's just about 2 o'clock. It is always my pleasure to come here. And I said it before, that hour sometimes slip by very fast. But you know, I spend my hour well. Now that I done bang my mouth and chat, I feel like I want some food to eat. So I'm going to get something to eat now. Let me part by saying thanks to the the host back there who would have done a good job in keeping me going. I want to thank you for listening, all of you for listening. Thank you, Von Radio, for affording me the opportunity to come here every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And of course, I want to encourage persons to continue to lend their support to this great institution that has served the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and beyond for the past 30 plus years. And I'm hoping that they'll be around to do another 30 plus 30. And with that, thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. If you're going to the cricket, go and enjoy yourself. Go to church on Sunday. But everything you do, put God in the midst of it and ensure that you're serving Him every day so that you can be of purpose to this island. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless you, and see you again next week, all being well. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcast